The NFL coaching carousel has already begun, with Adam Schefter reporting there may be upwards of 10 vacancies at the end of this season. And the surprise is, Rex Ryan seems to be the leading candidate for several of these openings. Sports are funny, superstitions are real, and my dad is convinced I jinxed him this week. And I am here to prove later in this show that that is not the case. And it is the week of Thanksgiving, a time truly for giving thanks. So we are going to spend some time with another family, the family of Hall of Fame kicker Jeff Budzien and his dad Bill. And they are going to tell us all about how their relationship led to his kicking success. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who is officially half robot, my dad, Tim.
Half robot?
I mean, you're on your 10th surgery you just had.
Not that, yeah. Not that many in my back.
Just had surgery on Thursday, and I have to tell you, you rarely see the success of a surgery this quickly. You are moving in ways I have not seen in a decade.
Yeah, I'm going to give big thumbs up to Dr. Stoll, who did this surgery. I had a situation going on where I actually was losing feeling in my legs. I'd get out of a car and it'd feel like my legs were asleep. And he looked at it and said, yeah, you've got something called spinal stenosis, and it's pretty severe. We're going to roto-rooter you, which I laughed at, but thought, what? It's literally what he did. And the relief I received was immediate.
You could tell.
Yeah.
Like, you came out of surgery, you literally had color in your face, which I've never seen after any surgery I've ever witnessed, not in myself, not in my mother, not in you or anybody else. And you were moving around. You were standing up straight.
Yeah.
I mean, you were at the end there looking like, I know we're sitting down and people can't see it, but I thought you were going to ring the bells at Notre Dame with how hunched over you were.
I was getting there.
But you are standing up straight. You are doing great.
Feel good.
We need to get you on the tennis court so I can officially beat you.
I'm still not sure if I can hit a serve.
Hey, we're getting you golfing this upcoming year, which
more importantly, I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be on the treadmill, very light weights. And just build things back up again so I have some strength.
Get that muscle working.
So while I was recovering and had more time on my hands than I care to even consider, I saw a video.
I don't want to talk about this.
That made me think of you.
I don't want to talk about this.
Well, we're talking about it. These are like a few things that people do that really define you as weird. You do one of them.
I'm not weird. This is not a weird thing, despite what apparently everybody in my life says.
Wearing socks to bed is weird.
So this,
except that when it's 30 below at night, I'll give you a
video.
pass.
And it's 5 things that are weird. And one of the top ones was you wear socks to sleep.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how you don't wear socks to sleep.
I don't, because it's weird to wear socks to bed.
Apparently you're not alone on this. I guess out of all the people I know, I'm the only one that does this. I can't sleep if I don't have socks on.
It's weird.
My toes feel weird. It doesn't feel right. Like, what if your feet pop out from under the blanket? I'm a tall guy. Like, sometimes my feet pop out and then they're cold.
Okay. The only time I'll give you, we live in Wisconsin. So when it's 40 below, there are times I might wear socks to bed at night.
That's
the only time.
You also wear socks that go up to your knees.
I do not. I wear
different
crew
story.
socks like I've always done playing tennis. There's another one that was listed that makes people weird. And this is weird. Putting milk in the bowl before you put the cereal in.
That is weird. That is weird.
The woman who did the video said, well, I warm up my milk. That's even weirder, and that's gross.
For cereal?
For cereal.
I
mean, cereal goes soggy to start with. We put more milk on it. It's going to go.
You're making oatmeal at that point.
Ugh.
I mean, are you sure she's not talking about oatmeal?
No.
And is just confused at what cereal is?
She was talking about on Cheerios.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That is weird. Wearing socks to bed
is weird.
Is not weird. It's comfortable.
No, it's not.
It's extremely comfortable.
It's gross on top of it because
it's
you probably don't.
Gross.
Do you put clean socks on?
That's not the
point. I rest my case.
My feet are clean. They don't smell bad.
You wear dirty socks to bed. That's gross. Don't teach this to your children. My grandchildren are better people than that.
Do you get fully changed before you go to bed?
Actually, I do. I've done it for years.
Okay, that's weird, man.
Got
Put
that
on
from,
a whole new outfit to go to bed? Like, no, you
Yeah.
just go to bed. And
No.
you leave your socks on.
I
because
go to
it's more
bed
comfortable.
nice and clean. I don't take a shower, which a lot of people do, because I
don't
take a shower in the morning.
bed.
No.
I brush my teeth, and I go to sleep.
Yeah, I brush my teeth, change my clothes, go to bed.
But why are you what's the point of putting on clean clothes before you go to bed when you're still dirty? Like, I get if you take a shower, get clean, whatever. But why are you putting on clean clothes before you go to bed? You're dirty.
Because I'm not dirtying the sheets as much. Leave me alone. It's not as bad as socks. Don't try to change the subject.
The
Wearing
socks is not weird.
That's weird
at
and
all.
gross.
I'm freezing if I don't wear socks. You let us know what you think in the comments below about this, because I need to prove that I'm not weird. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
Here's something weird.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Rex Ryan has been on ESPN now for years.
Long time. Since he was fired from the Jets.
Yeah, he's come out and said he wants to coach the
heard.
Jets again. Isn't
Great
that,
hire.
Don't you think it's weird to go back in time? He hasn't been on the sideline for how long?
It doesn't matter. I mean, you see that from time to time. I think it would be a great hire for them. He is, since Woody Johnson bought the team in the year 2000, he is the winningest coach in Jets history.
He's probably the best guy that's one of the best. I mean, there's Belichick, there's Saban, and Rex Ryan was an outstanding defensive coordinator, maybe the best defensive coach other than Wade Phillips in the last 15 years, 20 years.
I mean, I wouldn't put Rex Ryan on the pedestal that are Bill Belichick in the NFL and Nick Saban in college.
As a defensive coordinator, I'll put him right up.
Sure, as a head
I'll put
coach.
him right up there.
But he did go to back-to-back AFC championships.
With Mark Sanchez.
With a hell of a defense.
Yes.
I mean, that and what you have in New York right now, talent-wise, is a hell of a defense.
Well, the other person I've heard openly or wanting the job is Eric Mangini, which if I've got to make a choice, it's not a choice. I'm going with Rex Ryan.
The fans love Rex Ryan. He's a great fit in New York. He wants to be with the Jets.
But let's address the diva elephant in the room. Can Aaron Rodgers work with Rex Ryan?
I think so.
Or will he leave?
He could leave. By the way, okay?
Yes.
I'm taking credit for all of this because I said this after week 1. I said this. Aaron Rodgers going to the Minnesota Vikings. And it is absolutely everywhere now. And by the way, for the same reasons I was laying out before. Sam Darnold's on a short-term contract, 1 year, and he's gone. And you're not going to sign Sam Darnold to a long-term contract because you have a rookie quarterback sitting back there, so the perfect fit is Aaron Rodgers. And now national media is running with it. So thank you. Again, I'm right. You heard it here first. It's going to happen.
Well, I'd like to get the hashtag Sports Talk with Dad on a couple of these. It'd be nice.
It makes way too much sense. And most people aren't even mentioning, by the way, the logistics of it and why it makes sense. They're just throwing it out there as a great idea.
What logistics?
The logistics of Sam Darnold's on a 1-year contract. You're not going to sign him to a long-term deal. He's going to the Giants on a long-term deal. And so you need that in-between quarterback so J.J. McCarthy can sit another year, and Aaron Rodgers has 1 more year left on his contract. He's the perfect fit.
I will still contend. I think Darnold stays put. But that being said, if Rodgers stays in New York,
yes,
they still have all the pieces. They've got a Devontae Adams.
If Rex Ryan comes to be the New York Jets coach, Aaron Rodgers stays. I think it's a perfect match. You have a coach that is just as loud and as obnoxious as Aaron Rodgers. In a good way, though. He's going to get that team buy-in immediately. He already has the New York Jets fans buy-in. He's going to have a leash as long as you can imagine. Woody Johnson's not even most likely going to be around.
No, he's going to be an ambassador to England
to the UK
or
whatever, like he was in 2016.
Do you think Rex Ryan is going to give Rodgers a leash?
No, I'm saying the Jets ownership is going to give Rex Ryan, and the fans are going to give Rex Ryan a leash.
Ryan will run the team in a way like Bill Parcells did his short term in Dallas.
And he'll
or
bring
New
in a
York.
solid offensive coordinator to work with Aaron Rodgers. That's not Nathaniel Hackett.
Well, that goes without saying. I think Hackett may have had his last job.
That was a bad decision from the word go. I mean, he proved time and time again he is just not a good offensive coordinator. He's not creative enough for it. So you need a solid offensive coordinator that can really design plays well for this offense.
And that Rodgers will work with and not just go rogue and call the
Correct.
plays from the line, which he
Give him
always-
2 plays.
Yes.
You check here. If you see something, check off. You got to give your quarterback in the NFL that power
Sure.
to be able to check off a play.
Especially first ballot Hall of Famer who can see those kinds of things.
Correct. But he's also got to get more mobile. But Rex Ryan in the Jets makes way too much sense. And I would watch every single game. Because one of two things are going to happen. Either the Jets are going to turn it around and it's going to be one hell of a team, or it is going to be the greatest train wreck in the history of sports.
Well, I can see Ryan and Rodgers just going after each other.
I'd love it. But I want fat Rex Ryan back. He's too skinny now. You got to get that big coach belly back
You
if
put
you're
him
gonna be
in
the head coach.
that kind of pressure dealing with Rodgers.
He'll put on the weight.
He'll be digging into the
Like,
Haagen-Dazs.
he's got his new fake teeth looking all good. He's lost 100
What are you
pounds.
talking about his fake teeth? He looks good.
He looks great. Freddie Freeman also has big old fake teeth, and they look great. It's just they're very, very white.
It's a lot of, well, yes.
Uncomfortably white.
I would like to have that, but
Hey, they look great. I'm with you. But I'm just saying, he's made for TV.
So-
you know?
did you hear the other coach that's out there that's targeting a job? Bill Belichick is apparently targeting the Jaguars job. He wants that one.
I don't see him coming back and coaching at this point. He has such a good gig with ESPN, with the Pat McAfee show.
That's a Rex Ryan argument.
It is the Rex Ryan argument, but Rex Ryan has been talking about wanting to get back into coaching for a long time. The only time he didn't say that was like 2 years after he left the Jets. He's like, I'm pretty comfortable. But he got that itch. And I'm sure Belichick does too.
I don't know if Jacksonville would be a good fit for Belichick. I mean, he's got Trevor Lawrence. He put together a good defense. It would certainly help them sell the new stadium.
Yeah.
But you've got to go overseas for.
Well, Belichick's not going to be there for the new stadium. Let's make that very, very clear.
It's what, 2 years away?
3 years away. 2028, 2029. It's 2028. They're going.
Yeah,
to the new
he'll probably
stadium,
be
so
coached for 3 years.
away.
Whatever it
4
takes to
years
win to break the record.
I don't see him being around that long. He's got a nice, beautiful 24-year-old girlfriend. Like, does he really want to leave that? Like, let's think about this for a second.
Apparently, he wants to come back and coach. But there's also, we were listening to Adam Schefter. He said there could be up to 8, 9, 10 openings this year.
Could be.
Normally, there's 6 or 7.
I mean, we already know about New Orleans.
Correct.
They're looking for a new coach. We already know about the Jets. They're looking for a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
You have to assume the Cowboys are moving on from Mike McCarthy, right or wrong. I don't think it's the right move.
Bears are going to move on.
Bears are most likely going to move on from Eberflus. You got to assume that's
Jaguars,
a deal.
I think, are going to move
There's
on.
no
from
way they don't
Peterson.
move on from Doug Peterson.
The Browns. I mean,
I think it's time, but Kevin Stefanski will get a new head coaching job immediately.
sure.
Like, it won't even be 2 seconds after he's fired and he's doing
The
interviews.
problem with the Browns job is you still have to deal with Deshaun Watson.
He's under contract till 2027.
Yeah.
I mean, he's yours, and he's hurt. And that's the same thing with the Cowboys, though. The Cowboys have Dak Prescott, who is hurt.
I think in Prescott's case that if the Cowboys lose out and they have a chance to get a Shedeur Sanders, one of the top quarterbacks in the draft, you can move on from Prescott because somebody would work a trade for him. Even at $60 million, somebody would accept that
Yeah.
trade.
And we got the Bengals
The Bengals are in rough shape.
because Zach Taylor has back-to-back losing seasons now.
Okay, injuries
Well,
to Joe Burrow.
to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about Joe Burrow in Cincinnati.
But you should be able to win with a backup quarterback. Like, you should, if you're a good coach with your backup quarterback with the talent the Bengals have, you should be able to be a 500 team.
Yes, I'll accept 500.
And he hasn't been a 500 team. And now you have Joe Burrow. Now, to be fair, they've been screwed a couple of times on some games, especially one specifically against the Kansas City Chiefs. By the way, did you see what happened when the refs finally didn't help them in a game?
Yeah, they
They
won,
almost lost to the Panthers.
but they won.
Yeah, but it was
They
a
won.
competition against the Carolina Panthers.
Everyone's going to have one of those games.
Okay, yeah,
So
one of those
getting
games
back-
where the refs don't help you.
Getting back to the coaching vacancies, the Raiders are probably, even after 1 year,
Then you're paying 3 coaches.
I understand that. Welcome to Milwaukee Bucks basketball.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the
But,
Raiders,
well, technically, then you're paying 4. You're paying 3 coaches now.
I don't think they should move on myself,
Antonio Pierce, in my opinion, was a bad hire to begin with,
but he's there.
but he's there and he was cheaper than the other options they
That's-
had.
He was a player's favorite, and when I hear player's favorite, that's automatically for me saying I need to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I can understand that. The Giants, I don't think, are going anywhere. I think I said this last week a lot. Dayball is staying put. I think the
He's a
GM
good
is going to be
coach.
replaced.
Yes.
The GM, Hard Knocks screwed over that GM
And-
because he's talking about there's plenty of free agent running backs, and his son yelling, "You need to draft Jaden Daniels. He's the best option you have available." And they didn't even try to go get him.
Well, that GM, considering he let Xavier McKinney go, he let Saquon Barkley go,
And signed Daniel Jones to a long contract.
that's 3 strikes and you're out.
He's
Oh.
gone. So even if you keep Dayball, the GM I think is going to be gone.
How about this? I mean, the Eagles are playing extraordinarily well right now, but if they get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, are you moving on from Sirianni, or has he done enough to stick around?
Depends on the relationship with ownership Sirianni has. I mean, he's done a lot to turn that team around.
No, Saquon Barkley's done a lot to turn that team around.
Saquon Barkley has done
And
a
Jaden
whole
Hurts.
bunch.
Jaden Hurts has played much better this year than last.
Well, he has, but he also has a running game.
Sure.
I mean, Jalen Hurts finally has somebody that can take the brunt. Saquon Barkley's the MVP of the league right now.
Absolutely.
He's going to be the first non-quarterback to win the award, I think, since Adrian Peterson.
Could be. I mean, but the way he's playing, it's like watching a young Adrian Peterson. I mean, he's just dominating every game.
He's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And Jalen Hurts helps that as well because you have A.J. Brown to go over the top two and a quarterback that can also move. So there's a lot of options, and Sirianni has done a very good job coaching to those options. So I don't think he's going anywhere.
I will tell you one thing that I think has become very apparent this year. I don't want to hear that running backs aren't important in football anymore because you got Derrick Henry, you've got Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, even Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Is having a great year. That's the top 4 in rushing this year.
Yeah, Bucky Irving down in Tampa is lighting up and is a big reason they win.
You've got to have a running game so that the play action pass and just your overall passing game will open up. Sorry about that.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, not really. But
Here's one thing I will tell you. This is a guess of mine, and I don't think it's as much of a guess as exactly what's going to happen. The Cowboys are going to fire Mike McCarthy for Jason Witten.
you said that to me earlier today, and I'm like, are you out of your ever-loving mind?
It's going to happen. It's definitely going to
They
happen.
did that with Jason Garrett, who was their third-string quarterback. Unfortunately, beat the Packers.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why would you do that? Go out and get a good coach. Get Nick Saban would be a better hire than Jason Witten.
They're looking for that Dan Campbell effect.
No, they're looking for somebody they can put under Jerry Jones's thumb again and control everything.
Yeah.
They've got to let go. Go and get a good, competent coach that can also work with your GM.
Jason Witten's the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
No.
If you look at Jason Witten's Instagram posts, he posted something in September about being a Cowboy for life. You only
Sure.
get once in a lifetime to be a Cowboy. He's all bought in on being a Cowboy. He is going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. That is what's going to happen.
Mike McCarthy is getting screwed twice. I mean, he was very good with the Packers. Shouldn't have been fired mid-season, and yet he was.
He definitely shouldn't have been fired midseason, but he also lost that locker room.
He had lost the locker room. He's been 12-5, back-to-back years in Dallas.
Yeah.
And yes, this year has been rough because Prescott goes down. That's going to happen anytime your starting quarterback goes down.
Prescott goes down. You're fighting over 3 different contracts to star players.
Your GM and your owner doesn't go out and get one of the top running backs when they were there for the taking.
Right. Yeah, there was a lot that happened there that led to this downfall of the Cowboys, and I think it's very unfair. The Cowboys have an issue, and I hear this from a lot of fans. They always look for one person to blame. And I think I mean, one person that is getting blamed is Mike McCarthy, and it's not his fault.
Well, and let me ask you this. Speaking of McCarthy, say he gets fired. Of the teams we mentioned, would you hire any of them if you were in their position?
Yeah, if I were the Saints, I'd hire him in 2 seconds flat. If I were Jacksonville, I'd hire him.
You know who I would? This makes if Sirianni goes, I get McCarthy and put him in there.
Yeah,
He will put you over the top.
he could. He could. He's won one, and then that was kind of the end of it. And the one he did get was very much on a hot streak
Sure.
with a team that surprised a lot of people.
But he also should have gotten there a couple other times, 2014 for sure.
Yeah. There was a lot of plays that didn't go their way. They should have gotten there in 2008. If it wasn't for Brady Papinga not falling on the ball and trying to scoop and score.
And then there was the Seattle debacle.
In 2014, and that kind of cemented the end of
I
it.
just keep coming back to 14 because it hurt so bad.
Yeah, it was the 2003 Cubs all over again. I could see him in a lot of different places. With the Raiders, I wouldn't touch that job with a 10-foot pole. I mean, the Raiders are terrible.
Raiders are the worst of any of these jobs. It's going to take them years to rebuild.
The Browns, I wouldn't touch.
Not as long as Watson's there.
No. I could also see Kevin Stefanski going to the Jaguars. Or if Kevin Stefanski gets hired and the Bears decide to go away from Eberflus, that's your guy. If what's his name from Detroit isn't available,
Ben
Johnson, thank you. That's the guy I go for.
Ben Johnson has his first choice.
He does. He could be any of these, and I think the Bears are a really good fit for him. I personally hope he doesn't go to the Bears because I think he'd do a lot of good things.
I don't think he'd want to play in the division. I really don't.
I don't know.
I mean, I could see him going to Cincinnati. I think that'd be a good fit.
I don't think Zach Taylor gets fired. I really don't. I think there will be, obviously we know about the Jets.
And there's also going to be a surprise one, by the way.
There is.
Whoever that's going to be.
Let's go through this list. So New Orleans, done.
Smart to go to the Jets.
He's not going to the Jets. New Orleans is getting a new coach. The Jets are getting a new coach. We know that. The Bears are going to fire Eberflus. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
The Jags.
The Jags are 100% firing Doug Peterson. And that's all we really know for sure. We can say the Cowboys are going to fire their head coach, but I don't think we know that for sure.
They won't fire him. They're just not going to re-sign him.
Right. But I could see Mike McCarthy coming back for another season.
I don't see it. The Raiders?
That's 5. The Raiders aren't moving on from Antonio Pierce. I just don't see it happening.
I don't either. Not after 1 year.
I mean, if there's a surprise, let me look at the records here. I mean, could the Rams move on from Sean McVay?
Only if McVay wants to step down and go into TV, which he could do.
The Niners have had a bad year, but they're not moving on from Shanahan. Titans, I don't think, are moving on from their head coach. Patriots aren't getting rid of their head coach. The Panthers could be a surprise after 1 year.
With that owner, nothing would surprise me.
If there's a surprise that could happen, I think you're going to look at either the Colts or the Buccaneers if they don't make the playoffs moving on from their head coaches. I don't see it happening, but if there is a surprise that's going to happen, those are the two that I see.
Both would be bad.
I don't think you fire any of those coaches.
No.
I think there's 5 coaches on this list, 5 teams that are going to have new head coaches next year.
Where do you
maximum?
It's all over that they think that Saban will come in and coach next year. Where can you see him going? Because he's going to want to go someplace where he's going to be able to win.
Nick Saban?
Yeah.
I don't know, because the Saints don't really have anything to build off of. The Bears, I could see him going to the Bears, because you have to think he's going to be able to pick his spot, right?
Right.
So you got the Jaguars, you got the Bears, both good talent-wise.
Both, those are probably, and the Jets. You throw those 3 teams in, they're the most win-ready.
Yeah. The rest of these, I just don't. I don't see any movement in the next few years. I really don't. It's going to be a full rebuilding
I would not be surprised if the Eagles fire Sirianni if they don't get past the first round.
You want to talk about a perfect situation for Ben Johnson.
That would be the place.
That's the place he'd want to go. But, there are a lot of teams, no matter what, that are going to be building new families at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Thanksgiving week, and we decided we were going to spend it with a very special family. Please welcome Northwestern 2024 Hall of Fame inductee, the all-time most accurate kicker in the Big Ten, first team All-American, two-time Big Ten Kicker of the Year, Jeff Budzien and Bill Budzien. Hey guys, how you doing?
Great. Thanks, Kyle.
Good. We're glad to have you here. This is our Thanksgiving episode. We figured what better way than to have a father and son talk to a father and son. So let's get this started. Bill, when did you know that your son's leg had been dipped in the river Styx?
Well, to be honest, Jeff was a good athlete from early ages and was good across a lot of sports, baseball, basketball, soccer, and football wasn't really on the radar until later. And I thought his ticket was going to be in soccer. And he played in a lot of rec and then some club teams. And when he was 10 years old, his coach, who was a former Olympian, U.S. Olympian soccer player, said, your son's going to get a D1 scholarship someday in soccer. And I said, how can you say that? He's only 10 years old. And he said, well, he sees the field like other kids don't, and he can dribble without looking down at the ball, but with his head up, and he passes the ball to where kids are going to be, not where they are. And from that point on, I thought, okay, soccer's his ticket. And then until high school, and then that took a different fork in the road.
Well, let me ask you this. As a parent, you see a kid with talent. There's a difference between encouraging and pushing. And I've seen both. I coached in Nike camps and whatever. And believe me, it was much nicer when the parents weren't there. But where was that line? And Jeff, from your end, when did you know Dad was going, okay, you went too far, back off and let me just do my thing a little bit?
I mean, there are certainly times that I maybe thought that the line was there, but my daddy was always really supportive of me. And I think the greatest compliment that I can pay my dad is, how many hours and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars that he invested into my soccer career. And it got to be 7th or 8th grade, and I just fell out of love with the sport and really started liking football. And the only position that suited me was kicking and punting. And so I started doing that, and for my dad to be as supportive as he was and never had that, that feeling of investment in the back of his mind, like he wanted that to pay off. It says a lot about the support network I had with my dad. So he was pushed me. He was hard on me, just like he was with all the other siblings of mine, and that turned out well for all of us.
So what was that transition like in high school going into kicking? Was it natural? Was there a lot to learn? Obviously, kicking a football is different than a soccer ball.
It was pretty natural for me, and I was really lucky to have a mentor growing up, Johnny Hoke, who was the varsity kicker when I was a freshman. So I had a great role model to look up to there. It came pretty natural to me. Freshman year, I did both soccer and football at Arrowhead, and at Arrowhead, football is a really big deal. Soccer is as well, but nothing like a Friday night in Heartland for a football game. So
Definitely.
that's where I wanted to be, playing under the lights, and that was my ticket to get on the field. And luckily, my career went a lot longer than Arrowhead.
Yeah, state champion in high school and everything. So let's talk about the recruiting trips, because obviously you were a very highly touted player. You were all conference, all state, Gatorade Kicker of the Year. What did that recruitment look like?
Being a kicker recruit is really unique. If you were the first or second ranked quarterback in the country, you can go really any school that you want. Being a kicker is really unique, though. I mean, there's maybe one or two schools in the Big Ten that had a kicker graduating as a senior, Northwestern being one of them. So it was a much more national recruitment than I would have thought. And it's really like the schools choose you more than you choose the schools, and,
Sure.
and that's very unique. So, I had a couple scholarship offers at Kansas State and Illinois State, Northwestern, Rice, Army. Minnesota came in late, but it's just a lot of it is seeing how the roster looks as a kicker. Again, if you're a linebacker, you can move to outside backer. There's a couple linebackers that play on special teams, and if you're not the kicker, being the backup kicker is a really lonely spot to be in. So it's totally a unique experience. It's a little bit later in the recruiting game too. A lot of coaches will hopefully get a kicker as a walk-on, and I was really fortunate to have a scholarship coming out of high school. But Wisconsin was my dream school. Coach Bielema was the head coach at the time. Very stand-up guy to me, very honest and transparent. At that time, they had a kicker who was a freshman All-American when I was a senior. And I remember Coach Bielema sat me down and said, it wouldn't be fair to you or me to bring you in on scholarship and have you likely sit for 3 years. And I respect that. And it was a great message to hear. So, I would have loved to be a Badger, but my time at Northwestern was the greatest. I couldn't imagine being anywhere else.
Well, Bill, from your aspect, how did you advise Jeff through all the recruiting and that whole process?
Yeah, I think the one thing that Jeff didn't mention that's a little unique about the recruitment of a kicker too is that you can go to these kicking camps and get ranked nationally, and that puts you kind of on the radar screen of schools. And Jeff, I think from what you had shared with me, like if you're ranked within the top 10 nationally, you're likely to get an offer from somebody. So from my perspective, a lot of what we did was go to these kicking camps. Some were in the region. We went to Vegas a couple times, and I think Jeff even went to a kicking camp out in California. I don't remember all those details because I didn't go on that one with you, but I know you did really well at that, and getting a phone call saying you won the kicking competition out at that kicking camp, which put you at 5 or 6 ranked nationally for your class, maybe even higher. And at that point in time, it was likely that he would get an offer. You just didn't know from who.
So when you guys came together, then what made the decision Northwestern? You mentioned several schools, right? And a couple of them that had senior kickers. What made you decide Northwestern?
It was a perfect fit. I love the academic challenge that was there. From a location, it's the second closest Big Ten school or Division I school from Arrowhead. So being close to my family and having them be able to visit for games was a really important deal to me. Coach Fitzgerald, such an incredible guy, young coach at the time. They were on the upswing. So there was lots to like. In fact, all the scholarship offers you get have the same flavor, but Northwestern's was the only one that said, this scholarship is worth this. I actually have it in my office framed, the scholarship letter, and it says this scholarship is worth $64,000 per year. And I remember going over that with my dad and him putting his finger on it saying, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, that was a big deal. And Northwestern talks about picking a school being a 40-year decision, not just a 4-year decision. That couldn't be that's just the truth for me and for a lot of athletes that graduate from there. So it really was just a perfect fit. My college career didn't start the way I wanted. I redshirted, which I thought I'd be playing right away, and sat actually my next year as well. So I played my last 3 years there. I was there for 5 years, but the recruitment process, again, like there'd be a school that I'd never talked to UNLV, and then they'd call an offer a scholarship out of the blue. It just was a very bizarre process for a kicker.
All right, well, let me ask you this, because being a kicker is kind of like being a relief pitcher, and I'm from the baseball side of things. But I want to know from both of you, who's more nervous when you go out there for a game-winning field goal, Dad or the guy on the field?
Well, Tim, I can say I'm certainly nervous for Jeff sitting in the stands. And, any parent wants their kids to do well and be successful. But whether Jeff made or missed a kick, it wouldn't have been from lack of effort or preparation or desire. I was certain of that. But the other thing that was a little comforting for me, and Jeff can speak to this too, I think his perspective as a kicker was really positive and mentally strong. And he had shared with me at one point in time, if you're a football player and you make a bad play and you're playing offense or defense, in 30 seconds you got the next play, and you can forget about it and get on with the game. But if you're a kicker and you miss a kick, it might be several minutes or even quarters or even the next week or two before you get another opportunity to get out there and redeem yourself. So you got to be really mentally strong. And the other thing that Jeff shared with me, which I don't know he would share himself, but he always said, kicking didn't define him. So no one was going to die if he missed the kick. And it wasn't going to affect whether he was going to get into heaven or not. He's very, very strong with his faith. And so you just go out there and do your best, and it whatever kind of happens. So I was always very encouraged by his strong mentality.
That's a great attitude. Jeff, what did you do to get mentally prepared for each game?
It really just came from hard work. And I think that, as cliche as that is, it hit me maybe sophomore year of college, where I always thought I trained really hard, had a good, regimen about it. But I really started training smart when I was a sophomore in college. And kind of like my dad mentioned, during the high school process, all these kickers come to these national events, and you get to know a lot of people. And it just kind of morphs where like the best kickers in the class kind of hang out with each other, and you get to know each other really well. And that morphs into college, and it's like a little fraternity at kicking. So we'd go every summer, and we'd go to the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, and we'd have 30 of the top 100 college kickers playing. And I'd train with them. And again, these guys are getting drafted in the NFL, but we would train, and they'd be trying to say, hey, who can kick the farthest field goal today? Or let's go kick on the sideline and do some, play pig, and it's more of a trick shot game. And it started to hit me like, none of the things that I'm practicing today, I'm ever going to do in a game. I'm never going to kick a field goal from the numbers or the sideline. I'm never going to, just kick a 65, 70 yarder just for fun or see if I can do it. So I became obsessed with kicking field goals that I would kick. I kicked 33-yard field goals until my leg hurt, 43-yard field goals into the wind. A lot of kickers don't want to train into the wind. I wouldn't chew gum when I would practice. Like, everything I did was in preparation for a game winner. And I thought, when I went out there, no matter what it was, I've kicked that kick 1,000 times. And I'd run out and say, this kick is against Iowa from 47. And at this situation, I got to make it. And I practiced so much better. I learned how to practice better. And that led to confidence that I'd go out on the field, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, because I put myself in that position where other guys, say, I hope this goes in, or I think it's going to go in. And I knew I practiced so intentionally that the confidence that gave me was transformative from my sophomore and my junior year in college.
Well, it paid off. 87% career field goal percentage. You lead Northwestern in that, as well as points. 280 points for Northwestern. That's unbelievable, and it comes from hard work. Now, we all have played sports here. I gotta ask, any superstitions? Was there any meal you had to have before a game? Any socks you had to wear if you're on a kicking streak? Anything like that?
No. One of my high school kicking coaches, Coach Jeff Steinbach, and our superstition would just be you do the warm up the right way. So if you're feeling really good, if it's a hot day and you're feeling loose already, if it's a cold day, you never want to be out of kick and say, yeah, something today was off. I didn't warm up like I usually do. So everything that I could control, I did. But me making a kick in the fourth quarter had no impact. And if I had the salmon or the steak the night before or whatever, I just kind of went about my business with it. And that helped. It's like I can focus on what I can focus on, what I can control. And in a kick, I can't control the snap, the wind, the hold, the footing. All I can do is kind of between my ears and my steps and my warm up, even during the game and during the third and second down before the kick. So that was liberating for me, because all the things that kickers worry about, I was just able to shave it down and say, I can control these three things, and I'll be perfect at these three things. So no superstitions for me, but a lot of kickers have them. I'd say more than not. Some are totally bizarre, but to me, if you're thinking you're going to miss the kick because you didn't have the right sauce on your pasta the night before, I don't know if I want to trust that guy to hit a game winner anyway.
That's fair. Trust me, I understand superstitions. My dad played minor league baseball while I was growing up, and there were a lot of weird ones out there. So sure. I'm sure kickers have a ton. So I do have this one too. So in the next couple weeks here, I'm actually going to meet Chris Rubio, who trains NFL long snappers. They're going to teach me how to be a long snapper. How important is that relationship between the long snapper and the holder, and that trust as you're going into a kick?
Oh, it's critical. And I know Coach Rubio, and there's a couple really good snapping coaches that went in. And when I was at Northwestern, my snapper and my holder came in as freshmen when I did. So we had 5 straight years. I wouldn't even take a snap or a hold from somebody that wasn't them. And just like from a rhythm standpoint and optics, I never wanted to just toy with that. And I was like, why would I again practice something that's never going to happen? So those guys are my best friends. I treated them like crazy. I would take them to dinner. NIL wasn't a thing back when I was there, and I certainly wouldn't have made a lot of money, but I guarantee I would have split it with those guys because they are the unsung heroes. And I was so lucky with my snapper and holder. They were incredible athletes. They were all conference athletes, like quarterback or linebacker in high school, and they come to Northwestern, and they took their job as seriously as I did. And we had a lot of fun together, and it's a bond that very few people get because you're with them literally every day, all day. But that team was so good. I don't remember ever kicking the laces in college. We never had a kick blocked. It just was we were a well-oiled machine. So I was really blessed about that.
Okay, so now, Jeff, you're a father yourself. Your dad was telling us before we started the interview. What lessons have you taken from him that you're trying to apply to your own family? And then, Bill, I've got a follow-up for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. If I can ask the dad that my dad was, I'd be in the Hall of Fame as a dad. I remember, I'd be sitting at home. We were in North Carolina at the time, and I'd have my baseball mitt and a baseball, and I'd have my dad's mitt, and I'd sit on the porch and wait for my dad to drive home. He'd be in a suit and tie from work, and he wouldn't be out of the car, and we'd be playing catch. And I can't remember once in my life when I asked my dad to shag field goals or clock hang time on a kickoff when he never did. And I promise you, on Sundays or Saturdays, he wanted to cut the grass or watch a ball game or whatever, and he always said yes when I asked him to shag. And I try to do that with my kids. I have my oldest daughter, Reagan. She's an incredible athlete. She gets that from my wife, who's she was all state at Arrowhead in 2 sports, so she's actually the bigger athlete in the family. My son, 4 years old, he's an absolute stud. But and he loves sports, but he loves monster trucks too, and he likes playing with trains and building Legos. And that was never my thing. I was sports all the time. So it's a lesson for me. It's like I gotta meet him where he's at, and I gotta play monster trucks and go and wrestle and do things that I never did or wanted to do because that's what makes him happy. So those lessons from my dad, again, if I could be half the dad that he was, I'll be in a really good spot.
Okay, and Bill, you and I are both grandparents now, and we watch our kids raise their kids. Has there ever been a time where you've wanted to step in and say, hey, take a step back, you're losing your temper or whatever? How do you handle that when you're together with them?
Actually, Tim, it's probably more the other end of that spectrum where I want to step in and say, you should really be focused on this. Or if he's practicing, I used to do that with Jeff. If I'd go to work and say, you need to make, 30 left-handed layups in a row sometime today and mark it off on this spreadsheet, or something like that. But Jeff and his wife are so positive and always encouraging with their kids, no matter what. And certainly more to a degree than I ever was. And if I could do anything over again, I think kind of the question earlier on in this podcast that maybe as a parent, you get a little too intense or you want to live vicariously through their kids. And, Jeff was so good. And I never was able to compete at that level growing up. And so to say, man, you're going to be the starting shortstop or pitcher or point guard on the basketball team or something like that. Those are hard roles to win. And once you win them, you got to work just as hard at keeping them, And I kind of really valued that because maybe I wasn't in that same position. But I think Jeff and his wife are probably both teaching me lessons about always being positive and constructive and not critical or always in that teaching mode. Just accept it as it is.
You hear that, Dad?
We have that in common.
I want you to take that advice right there.
Bill and I have that in common. I am amazed at the patience you guys show.
Well, guys, we have a rule on this show. It's that Dad always gets the last word. So, Bill, we have a lot of dads out there watching. If they have kids that are athletic, what is the best advice that you can give any dad out there with kids in sports to help them along the way?
I guess I would say it would to always be supportive and don't try to be living your life through them. And the other thing would be to always have a healthy balance in life. And Jeff, I'm very proud of him, as I am proud of all my kids, but he has faith in family first, and I think that was what it was throughout his collegiate career. And I think the one thing, if I could mention this, I think in sports today, it's so intense, and they have all these club teams and travel teams and things like that, way beyond when I was growing up. And that you got all these tournaments on Sundays and things like that, and it's really a sacrifice to your family and your faith. And I regret the time saying, oh yeah, you know what, we can't make church because I got to get to Jeff to this practice, because if he doesn't go on Sunday, he might lose his starting spot or something like that, And I think you got to maintain that balance between your life and your faith, along with the sports, and that's a challenge in the environment today, I think.
That is absolutely beautiful. Faith is the most important thing you can have in this world, and that's amazing advice. I really appreciate that. Thank you both, Jeff and Bill, for being on the show today. Can't thank you enough. Congratulations, Jeff, again on the Northwestern Hall of Fame. Absolutely unbelievable. Thank you again. We can't wait to have you guys on the show again.
We appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
I love that interview. This is something from the very beginning of this show that we wanted to do, and that was talk to fathers and sons. And maybe in the future, I'll talk to the father and you'll talk to the son, and we can put them together that way. But just to learn different ways of parenting, as you said, when you've got a guy whose leg was dipped in the river Styx, it's a special kind of thing. What most impressed me was the fact that Jeff was originally a soccer player.
Yeah.
And was a very highly rated soccer player, but lost his passion.
Yeah.
A lot of families would just go, no, that's what you're doing. And Bill didn't do that. And credit to them.
It's a great transition. Obviously, Bill, great father. Jeff, a great son, great athlete, and is obviously becoming a great father himself. There is nobody better I could have imagined to have on this show for Thanksgiving.
And, we don't talk politics usually on this show. We don't talk a lot of religion, but I love the fact that you can tell, especially in Jeff's family, faith is in front and center, and with Bill as well. I mean, it was always there, and that's at the core of the family. You're going to have successful kids.
Well, I mean, think about it. When you have faith in your family, anything is possible. If that is the center of what you base your life around, anything is possible. And we saw it here. What an amazing story. I'm so happy we got to have them on. But we need to talk about something else, which is not liking me.
It's going to break up
family.
our family. I
didn't jinx you.
I was doing so well. I was 38-19 going into last week.
Yeah.
And then you had to pop off, and you jinxed me.
I think you just came back to reality.
No, you jinxed me. How many weeks I was going 3-2, 4-1? I was 1-4 this week, all because of you.
What was I?
I jinxed, and you were only 2-3.
So I beat you this week.
For the first time.
That's all I wanted.
This is all your fault.
It's definitely not my fault. You started doing what I do, which is taking flyers. And
I didn't take flyers.
That's on you.
On the Rams. Rams was kind of a flyer. I should have went with the Eagles.
You didn't. You went with your heart instead of your brain, and
No.
you did it to yourself.
No, I went with my brain on the 49ers, but I didn't know Brock Purdy and a couple other guys would be out.
I told you that before we did the picks. So
I still didn't think LaFleur could beat Shanahan.
yeah,
This is all your fault.
it's definitely not.
If I lose for the rest of the year and only end up at 500, this is 100% your fault. God, I hate you.
Am I at 500 yet? What are the records?
Okay, so you are right now 29 and 32. May you
Ooh,
keep going down because you suck.
jeez,
I'm
man.
39 and 23
Still have a winning record. You had one terrible week.
because of you.
It was not my fault. You made the picks. Way to play this victim card.
I made the picks, but you jinxed me, so whatever I would have picked, it was going to be wrong. I could have went the other direction, and those teams would have lost.
You could have, but you chose not to.
All your fault.
You had to
You're a
reverse it.
bad
this
luck
week.
charm.
All right, what are the games we got this week?
Okay, we're actually doing an extra game because it's Thanksgiving and because there's a couple good games. So the first one we're going to start with may not seem like one we should pick, but it's Thanksgiving. Bears at the Lions. Lions don't do well all the time on Thanksgiving. And I heard an interesting reason why. Because home teams typically don't do as well on Thanksgiving. Because families coming to town, there's going to be extra tickets to arrange, you got the kids.
It's a short week.
The road team just goes to the hotel and they're focused on the game. That being said, Bears
Haven't the
at
home
Lions.
teams in the last decade like won 3 times
It's
on Thanksgiving or something like that?
it's a ridiculously low number.
Yeah. That's an interesting reason. I don't think that. I think that the home teams are normally just not good teams. Because you always get the Lions, who are normally bad.
Yeah,
You
but you got the
get
Cowboys.
who just suck on Thanksgiving. And then you have whoever else is the third Thanksgiving game. So this is definitely an interesting game for the Lions here because the Bears could have easily won the last 2 weeks. I mean, against the Packers, it was a blocked field goal. Against the Vikings, it was Caleb Williams making a very dumb rookie mistake. The new offensive coordinator has definitely sparked that Bears team in a very unique way. The Lions need to step up. This is a different Lions team.
Wow.
Did you know for the
They won
Lions?
24-6 against the Colts. They're stepping it up.
Did you know that the Lions, this is their first time in history having back-to-back double-digit win seasons? Never happened before.
Which is why, even though I don't like the Lions because they're in our division, they're the underdog, and so everybody's kind of
It's a
rallying around them.
different team. They bite kneecaps. The Lions are winning this one at home.
All right. I am also taking them. I'm making sure to do my picks before you. Next one's going to be really interesting because the Chargers got spanked.
What's the game?
The Chargers at the Falcons. You didn't let me finish. Chargers got spanked last night.
Okay.
Falcons still in first place, but I don't think they're as good as people thought in the preseason. They're a good team.
Falcons are still going to be winning. Kirk Cousins is getting more and more healthy and looking better and better every single week. Falcons are going to take this one at home.
And I think the Chargers are going to rise up and they're going to go on the road and they're going to win that one.
Okay.
All right, next game. What happened to the Steelers last week?
I don't know.
Steelers are going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals. It's a must win for the Bengals or their season's done.
Yeah, right now, what's the Bengals percentage for playoff? Hold on, I had that pulled up
it's
here.
got to be in the 30 or 40%.
Bengals prevented 13% chance to make the playoffs.
Is it that high?
Yeah, 13%. They're 4-7 because the 7th seed is the Broncos at 7-5. Bengals. Here's the issue with the Bengals. Bengals have been looking great. I mean, they've been looking absolutely outstanding. Their defense has been completely letting them down. Joe Burrow's back to his MVP self all of a sudden.
He's playing well.
The Steelers are a different ballgame. I think the Bengals are going to win this one at home. I think they're finally going to get over this hump here and start winning a few games at the end of the season. I also think Russell Wilson's starting to come down to earth a bit here.
Yeah, I do, but I still have faith in Mike Tomlin, and you still have the Steelers defense that I think can put pressure on Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
It'll be a low-scoring game. I don't think the weather's going to be great either.
No, it's going to be
Which is
cold.
going to slow down the passing attack of Burrow. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Next game out, we got the Cardinals going to the Vikings.
Cardinals need to win this one. They are surprisingly in a playoff hunt here. Sitting out of it right now at 6-5, but the Commanders are having some issues all of a sudden on their team. The Vikings 9-2. I mean, I want badly the Cardinals to win this game. I am hoping the Cardinals are going to win this game, and I think realistically they have a chance at winning this game, but I'm going with the Vikings.
Yeah, I saw something earlier where it is possible that the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions could all end up with the same record.
They could.
And tiebreakers would decide.
Yep.
I want the Cardinals to win too, very badly, but I have more confidence in Brian Flores' defense, and I think the Vikings
Speaking of a guy
win.
that's going to be a head coach next
Yes,
year,
he will get one of these jobs.
he is unbelievable.
He's turned that defense around.
Completely, with nothing.
Yes.
With no talent,
There's
by
no-
the way.
There's no reason that defense should be as good as it
We
is.
saw that last year.
When I really wondered, why don't the Packers go out and get Brian Flores? That would have been a different defense.
It would have been, but that would require, our coach to make a decision
Tough
on his
call.
coaching staff, which he doesn't like to do.
No. All right, so you're going with the Vikings as well?
I'm going with Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next game is the game of the week. You got the Eagles going to the Ravens. Again, bad weather.
It'll be bad weather, which who knows who that actually benefits.
Right.
You have the two best running backs in the league.
You've got
with the
mirrors
two most mobile quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I was going to say you have the mirror of each other playing each other. Especially on
The Eagles are on a run here. The Ravens have had a couple of more rough weeks. I don't know. I'm falling in love with the Eagles all of a sudden. I'm going with the Eagles to win on the road.
Yeah, and I think the Ravens really need to turn it around, and I think Harbaugh got a good win against his brother.
Yep.
I think they're going to step it up at home, and I'm going with the Ravens.
Okay. We're doing
All right.
6.
We're doing 6 because the last game, of course, Dolphins coming in on a cold weather night on Thanksgiving to play the Packers.
I never pick against the Packers. We can already say what my pick is. But I definitely think it's going to be the Packers, specifically because, one, that was a huge win against the Niners. I get everybody was hurt, but that was still a dominant performance that I wasn't expecting
Romeo
to see.
Dobbs is going to be out, and he got a concussion.
He did. He's in protocol. Well, I guess, it's Thursday, so
Yeah.
he doesn't even have a chance to get out of it. So he's going to be out of the game. I mean, Christian Watson proved once again he can't catch the damn ball.
I'll give him credit for one thing and one thing only. After the game, he asked about it. He goes, somebody said, was the lights in your eyes? He goes, no, I just dropped the ball. It was all on me. I should have caught that ball.
Yeah, he should have. I don't give him any credit for that. Like, good for you for admitting it. But how many times are we going to watch him drop the ball? If it's here, he drops it. If it's a random hard catch to make, he makes the catch.
Well, it's because he always tries to. It's Antonio Freeman all over again. He tries to cradle the ball when it's coming right to him instead of just hands up.
Well, and he doesn't do the over the shoulder well. Now you got me not talking right. Thanks for passing that on.
Sure.
But it's like you're a speed guy. Like, this has to be your bread and butter here. You got to make those catches.
And if you look at
especially when you're that wide open.
Yes, that was a walk into the end zone.
Yeah.
No excuse at all.
Luckily, it didn't matter. It was a dominant performance, and the Dolphins have never proven that they can win in the cold, and
Oh.
it is going to be a freezing cold night at Lambeau.
Yeah, it could be wind chills below 0.
Yeah, with snow on the ground.
Tua has been playing unbelievably. I'll give him credit for that. I still don't agree with him coming back because this is a kind of night. If he takes a shot, just like Romeo Dobbs on Sunday, and his head goes back and hits the turf,
Yep.
we're right back to where we were a few weeks ago. So I hope that doesn't happen.
I agree. I mean, I don't ever want to see Tua get hurt.
No, I don't either.
I don't like that he's playing. I don't think he's putting his health first here. But if I said this before, if I was his age, I'd probably be in that same boat.
Well, you think you're
going onto
invincible.
the field.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you don't think about it until, like, I have kids now. Now I have more to actually, hey, people need me. I can't do stupid things anymore.
and
When
yet
I
you
was his
do.
age, it was different. I do not. I just sleep with my socks on, which apparently people
I'm
find
taking
weird.
the Packers as well, by the way, because until Miami could come in and surprise them, but I think the Packers know we got to step it up. It's Thanksgiving. Now's the time to roll. Jordan Love protected the ball. Everybody's giving him a hard time about the one that interception he threw in the end zone, but it was a free play, and he knew it.
And he knew it. He just threw it up there. It will be a good game. I think it's gonna be a very close game, but in the end, I think the Packers pull it out. And like I said, I don't pick against the Packers anyway. So
I will if I think.
you and I have had a
Except
great.
when you jinx me.
I hope you keep losing. I really do. Now, I was cheering for you to win, but now you're being an ass about it, and
I'm
now
not
I
being
hope
an
you
ass.
lose
I'm just
every
being
single
honest.
game.
I'm being honest. I was doing so well. What do you
You
never
can still do well.
You never tell a pitcher he's pitching a no-hitter. You never tell somebody who's actually pitching games, well, hey, you're doing great.
All right. Well, hey, you're doing great. Keep it up.
Hate you.
You and I have had a great show, but as you all know, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word. So it is all you.
So it's Thanksgiving. Obviously, I have more than I can count to be thankful for. Successful surgery, 3 incredible children, Kyle, Ryan, and Cassie, Grayson and Jack, grandsons, and of course, my most incredible daughter-in-law, Crystal. And then I have nieces and nephews that I love very dearly. Thanksgiving is a time for family to come together and be thankful for all that binds them together. I was talking to somebody that went to the same high school as I did a little bit ago, and it was sad to hear that she hadn't talked to her brother or sister-in-law for many, many years. And it's sad when the people you should be closest to are the hardest ones to get along with. I had an older brother. I was closest to my brother, Mark. He was 11 years older than I was. But I would get so upset because he would never pick up the phone to call me. If there was any contact between us, I had to call him. Maybe it was the age difference. Who knows? But you know what? Mark passed away 20 years ago this year. I'd give my left arm to be able to pick up the phone and call him and talk to him again and just have those conversations and have the fun times we have. This Thanksgiving, if you've got somebody you haven't talked to in a long time, pick up the phone and call them and just talk to them and try to make peace with whatever drove you apart. Be thankful they're there. Be thankful that you have somebody in your life that you had the common bond. You're raised in the same family. You have things in common, even if you make fun of your parents. Go ahead and do it. But don't let years go by without talking, because in the end, you're going to regret it. I know I do.
Great last word. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.